Oh, welcome again to the source. We're happy you have returned to share this short time together, this pause in the middle of the everyday demands of the journey. And so come, let the rucksack slip from your back, let all the weight and the anxieties and the uncertainties slip from your shoulders and put it down. This is really what we come for. Last time we reminded ourselves of just how important water to drink is on our journey. We need the water for our physical human life, but we also need, when we pause, we need stillness. We need inner stillness. We've always known this, because we've always known that inside our life is very much like this. Fears, desires, plans, hopes, disappointments, questions, whirling around. And so we can't really see the truth or the power that is within ourselves. It's hidden by all the anxiety and desire to achieve. It's not easy to suddenly become still with the demands of the everyday journey. And so we have to stop, put the rucksack down, and just be quiet. Just be quiet. Listen to the stillness of nature around us, realizing that when we get to the point of stillness within ourselves, we can see the reality within ourselves. Traveling. We're all traveling. We're all migrating from one place to another, the whole of our lives, physically, psychologically, with our ideas, our minds, our emotions, our relationships. It's normal for us as human beings to be traveling, to be moving on, to be seeking, to be changing. So why has it become such a problem? It has become a problem, and it's a serious problem among us now throughout the world. Yes, of course, it's perhaps the vast numbers of people who seem to be migrating from one country to another at the same time. So we've a vast migration going from east to west and another going from north to south. There's nothing wrong with moving and changing. It's human. We need it. It fulfills our reason for being on this planet. Then why is it a problem? We ask again. Fear. What are we afraid of? Fear that there will not be enough for all of us. There will not be enough water, there will not be enough food, there will not be enough medical care, there will not be enough housing, education. I have to make sure that there's enough for me and my family. I cannot trust that if I share it, there'll be enough for everyone. So migration has become a social problem, a very dangerous one. Because when we lack water, for example, we have often fought each other for possession of water sources. And now we're doing the same again. We don't really need to, but we're doing it. A few years ago, when the immigration crisis, the migration crisis, had not reached the climatic proportions it has now, I remember arriving from somewhere in Austria into the main railway station in Vienna. It was fairly early in the morning, but there was still the early morning rush. Businessmen going in one direction, students pushing their way half-heartedly in another direction, mothers with children getting them to school, the usual busyness and everybody on the move. And in the middle of this, a group of migrants who'd arrived in Austria and were trying to make their way to Germany. Germany was at that time the promised land where everybody would have a home and a family could live in peace. They would have plenty of food and work and so on. The promised land. And so the group of migrants making their way through the early morning crowd at the railway station in Vienna were anxious. But at one point, one old woman travelling on her own, had a large plastic bag, just like any of these garbage bags that we're familiar with. That's what it was. But in it was all that she possessed. Anything she had in the way of clothing, or an extra pair of shoes, anything she thought was valued, was pushed into this bag. It was her whole being. And as she made her way through the crowd on the railway station, the bag burst open and everything spilled out on the floor. And the most wonderful moment was to see all these businessmen with their suitcases on the way, in a hurry, the students who are casually and joking, the mothers with children, whoever was in the air near to her, stopped and started to pick up her life's possessions and get them back in the plastic bag for her and tie it and give it to her and show her where she had to go to get her train to Germany. A wonderful lesson. But in a few years of what we see as an excessive number of people travelling, migrating, our social conditioning that says we must stop this because there's not going to be enough for everyone and we have to hold on to what we've got. It could have told us, good, these are our brothers and sisters from the other side of the world. What are we going to do to make sure that they get a good life as well? And who knows, someday we may go back with them to see where they were living and how they were living. Migration and our social conditioning. We say, I have a choice. Am I really free? In this situation at the moment, we each of us have to take seriously the answer we can give to that question. How free am I of the social conditioning that making me live in fear of the rest of my family? Is that freedom? Our heads are full of the photographs, the images and the information that were given through television and the media of the pain, the suffering, the violence, the fear, both of those who are migrating, who are travelling, and those who are trying to prevent anybody joining them where they're living on the earth at the moment. Our heads are full of those pictures. Are we really free to look at the situation as it truly is and as it truly could be? It's another experience of this. We are now so full of conditioned thoughts about the problem that it really is vital, and I mean that life-giving for all of us, that we sit down, relax, and begin to look again in the power within us, who we are, the vast resources of this planet, that belong to all of us. Occasionally we see a ray of joy and hope when some scientific researchers are trying to find an answer, for example, to our climate change problem. They're not really bothered about the changing in the climate. The climate always changes and we don't control it. What they're really concerned about is that we're using the resources we have on planet Earth in a way that is highly destructive. We are making sure that we don't have enough by the way we're using what is here now. And this is not essential. We could use our resources, like oil, differently, and food, and water. There are signs that we're beginning to wake up to this. Somebody's saying, okay, carbon dioxide emission from petrol-driven cars can be abolished when we all go electric. Do we or do we not? But at least we haven't sat down and said, this is inevitable. It's migration which is our problem. Go back to the wisdom of who we are, our whole history, and where we are now. The social conditioning which has made us prisoners of our fears. And ask yourself, really, am I free? Quite often we hear it said, why should the children suffer? They have no choice. Do I have a choice? Yes, I do. But I'm letting myself perhaps be dragged along by quite an unnecessary fear because I have not cleared the anxiety from my mind, been still enough to see the reality within me, who I truly am, and therefore who is every other human person, every single one of us. Human beings, each one on a unique journey. One of the questions that has been raised recently again is, how free am I to decide to die? Can I decide that I don't like living on this planet anymore and that therefore I'm going to end my life? We have those who are trying to assist others when they wish to take their own lives and die, assisted dying. In many countries this is illegal, it's forbidden by law to help each other or help another person end their life. Could a robot be used for assisted dying? Well, seriously, could we train robots to help people to die? A whole collection of questions arises with that one, as to how free we are and how foolishly we are living at the moment. It's something you can perhaps take away with you for the days that are coming, for the month that's coming. First of all, of course, you need to sit down with the rucksack off your back, with the mind getting clear, to see what is the truth and the power within me and every human being, and then picking up the rucksack again and travelling on. And remember, would I still rush forward on a busy morning when I'm trying to get to work or to take the children to school or whatever, and help an old woman who's migrating from another country to pick up her few possessions in a plastic bag and found the place she's looking for? Would I still do that? Why not? Perhaps I could say, no, I could do something very much more for her. I could take her home and help her with my possessions that wouldn't fit into a plastic bag because there are too many. The joy of being human. Is that what we're losing? We have fear of not having enough food or enough comfort, enough money for all of us. What about joy and real freedom? Are we frightened of that, of losing that? Perhaps we need to think about that also in the month ahead. Perhaps while we've been talking, some one thought has leapt into your mind. What is really important to me? What really, above all else, is the one thing I value and I do not want to lose? Being loved, knowing that I am loved as the unique being that I am, and that is a source of joy. Well, when you sit down now and enjoy not having the rucksack on your back, perhaps before you put it back on your back again, you could throw a few things out of it that you don't really need, and a few thoughts and a few anxieties that you don't really need could be dropped from your mind and your feelings. And when you get up again, lighter of heart and with a lighter rucksack, able to carry on, travelling on, because you too, we all are, travelling, migrating from one place to another, a physical place, a place of understanding, a place of experience. We're all travelling and changing. And it can be a great experience, something we would not want to stop. Enjoy the next month on the road.